Hi guys, Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Thursday, December 2nd, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well and you've been stitching and making and creating all the things. If you are new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross stitching as well as my quilting. However, if quilting is not something that you are interested in seeing or hearing about, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So the past couple of weeks have not been the greatest, but I do want to start off by saying a big thank you to everybody who left kind birthday wishes in my last video, as well as get well wishes. In my last video I was not feeling the best, and I actually finally started feeling better on Monday. I basically was sick for about 3 weeks, and I just kind of had this cold that would just not go away. There was a lot of people in my area that were sick with it. A lot of family was, but I am glad that it is gone. Because I lost those 3 weeks, I definitely I was not able to work on some of the plans that I had made for, making things for like Thanksgiving. And I was very bummed about it. But there's always plenty of time in the coming new year to maybe finish some of those plans. Also, at the beginning of these past 2 weeks, my husband's sister passed away. And which is actually why I'm filming the video today, because tomorrow is her funeral. So I decided to go ahead and film a day ahead of time, because I know that, obviously I won't be able to tomorrow, and I did not want to miss a Saturday. So it's been very challenging the last couple of weeks, and we're just kind of managing as best we can. I ended up not hosting Thanksgiving like I had originally planned. I actually passed it off to my brother. So we went over there and celebrated Thanksgiving with them. So yeah, it's just been kind of a very difficult time, but we're managing. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to kind of let you know what was going on. In my last video, I did say that I was going to take some time over these past 2 weeks to go through my previous videos and pull some of the questions that I had been asked, and I was going to talk about them in this video, but I have not done that. I've actually been very neglectful of my channel these past 3 weeks, and I'm hoping, well actually I kind of got to looking at the calendar and the way that my videos fall between now and the new year, and I've decided that I still am planning on going and looking through all of those questions that you guys all sent me. But I think what I will do is there is a video that I will put out. I will actually film it a few days before New Year's Eve, and then it will come out on New Year's Day, and I will answer those questions then. It'll be a good opportunity to do it then. It'll give me a couple of weeks to go through all of my comments and kind of gather up the questions that you guys have left me, and then talk about them in that video, as well as talk about what my plans are for the new year. So just please continue to be patient with me. When it comes to emails, I have been very slow to respond still, and I do apologize. I will get to them. I think I'm all caught up now, but I feel really bad that there were several people that I wasn't able to get back to right away, and just kind of let you know there's kind of stuff going on right now, and but I think that life will kind of return to its normal pattern after this weekend. So please continue to be patient with me. Also, if you won a previous giveaway and you are domestic here in the United States, I have mailed out your giveaway winnings today. I have a couple of international friends that I need to send their winnings or their prizes to, and I will be doing that next week. I also have quite a few unclaimed giveaways, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with those. Some of them go back several videos, and right now I'm leaning towards just having them in an upcoming giveaway and just re-giving them away. I did contact all of the winners. I've contacted, I've left a comment on their comments, and I just have not heard back from some of them. So I think that's probably what I am going to do. If you entered one of my previous giveaways and you haven't seen like the last 5 videos, you might want to go back and see if perhaps you were one of those winners and I still have your prize. It's still unclaimed, and I guess I will give you another 2 weeks to kind of go back and see if maybe you won one of those. But other than that, I'm kind of leaning towards in a future video just re-giving all of those away. So just like my last handful of videos, with the holidays, with Christmas being out, I do have some of my previous finishes to show in this video. And of course, because I have that content, I have been able to mostly work monogamously-ish on 2 projects. I do have my Wednesday autumn stitch, and then I have been working on Anne Priest for the last 3 weeks, I think. And I'm really enjoying, maybe it's been 2 weeks. It's either been 2 or 3 weeks, but I've really been enjoying working on them. I will be returning to my rotation in the new year, but I just felt like with there being, content to have, to show in these videos, that I would take that opportunity to sort of focus on just one thing at a time. But I am looking forward to getting back to my rotation. I have enjoyed working monogamously on everything, but I do feel that pull, and I knew that I would. I just feel sort of, I want to start working on, I want to return to the autumn at Acorn Hollow, and I feel that calling to me, but I just need to stick with it for a little while longer, and then I will be returning to that rotation, and so I will have, the usual group of things to show in my videos. But it's been very, very nice being able to show all of my previous finishes. I have been surprised at how forgetful I have been of some of my previous finishes, but when I go to kind of like research what the name of it is, I immediately remember everything. But it's been just kind of surprising, you're doing these videos and then all of a sudden your mind is just drawing a complete blank and you cannot remember where you got it, who the designer was, what the name of it is. And I don't know if that is a combination of doing these videos and you just are sort of on the spot, or if I'm just becoming a very forgetful person. Hopefully it's just I'm becoming a very forgetful person. But it's been really, really nice being able to revisit all of those past finishes and being able to show them and talk about them. And I'm glad that so many of you guys are enjoying seeing them. And so I have a whole new group to show you in this video. I'm once again going to split it in half, and so I'll show half of the previous finished cross stitching and quilting in this video, and then the other half in my next video. The one thing that I did notice when I was putting out all of my Christmas decorations was the sad lack of Christmas cross stitching that I have. I mean, I knew that I had some, but I didn't realize that it was very sad in comparison to the other holidays. I actually thought Thanksgiving was very sad, that I needed more like, Thanksgiving, turkey, pilgrim, that kind of stuff, decor, and I realize I actually have more of that than I do of Christmas. So that really is something that I am going to definitely have to factor into my plans for this coming New Year, is to work on some Christmas stuff every once in a while. But what I have been working on is Mighty Acorn. It comes out of the Winds of Autumn book by Blackbird Designs, and this is what it looks like. A lot of people have finished it, and I have been enjoying seeing them pop up on Instagram. It makes me anxious to finish mine. I'm looking forward to having, because Yvette and I were talking about it the other day, and we're both looking forward to having a more autumn finishes, you know, next autumn, because we will continue working on autumn on Wednesdays and Thursdays this coming year. And here is my progress. So I am stitching this on a piece of 36 count Wren with the called for threads 1/2. And it is such a beautiful piece. All of the colors are so wonderful together. And I cannot wait to have this one finished. It'll be sometime in the new year that I get it done. But I am looking forward to being able to get this one done and then have it on my wall next year. So last night I was able to finish the words. What happened was I knew it was Wednesday. And then I went in and because I do all of my stitching in the evening, so I went in and went to bed, and I picked up Ann Priest and was working on her for about 15 minutes before I realized it was Wednesday. So all I managed to get done were the words. I did start a little bit of the upper tree, but I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to follow this side of the border down and around, and then start at the base of the tree and work my way up. I really love working on this one. It's going to look so amazing next year when I get it done, and then in the fall I will be able to put it up on my wall. But I'm really enjoying working on it. I love all of the colors, and it's such a beautiful little autumn stitch. And then I have been working on Ann Priest 1841 by the Scarlett House. So this is the one that I started last year on my birthday, and it's been in and out of my rotation ever since. I would really like to get this one done before the end of the year. I don't know if that is possible, but I am going to give it my best shot. It's the beginning of December now, so I have at least 4 weeks to get it done before the end of the year. I think what's really going to slow me down is the house. It is quite a larger house. So I don't know. It will be really, really close. Ideally, I would like to get it done because I do have a new year, new start planned, which that won't like infringe on it in any way. But I don't know, I would just kind of like to get it done before then. I don't know why. I just kind of have this drive to get it done. It is going to hang in my bedroom, and maybe that's why I kind of want to get it done, just because, I want to be able to hang it up in my bedroom. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to kick myself if I don't get it done, but I would really, really like to get it as close as I can before the end of the year. So I think in my last video, I was over here working, and I did finish that page that I was on, and I have dropped down to here, and this was the very first motif that I did of the next page. I started it not last night, but the night before. So I really, really love working on this one. It is such a beautiful piece. I'm stitching it on a piece of 40 count caramel by Saraphim Fabrics 1/2. This particular piece, though, I will be personalizing it. I believe I've mentioned this a couple of different times, but I am going to personalize it with my my great grandparents' names. And what I've decided to do is actually stitch the whole piece and then go back in and chart their names, because I want to see exactly how much room I have to kind of work with. What I will do is on like this side of the house, I will put my great-grandma's name, and on this side of the house, I will put my great-grandfather's name, and then somewhere I will try to put the year that they were married. If I can find it. There are some people in my family tree that I just cannot find that information, but I'm hoping that I will be able to kind of pinpoint, when they got married. But that is my plans for this piece here. And hopefully the next time we meet, I will be able to have quite a bit more progress to show you. All right, so previous finishes. So all of these I went through and I kind of halved everything. So these are going to be mainly my framed pieces. And then in my next video, I will show what's in the trench, as well as there is a Christmas ornament over yonder that I finished a couple of years ago. I have some of the stockings to show you guys, and then underneath here there is another cross stitch piece, which you can kind of see his head. So I will show that next time. But the first one is one that I was working on last year. I did not finish it in time for Christmas, but I did finish it in January, and I had him out January, February, and a little bit into March, and that is Parson Brown by Not Forgotten Farm. So I stitched this on a piece of 36 count creek bed brown with DMC. I did substitute some I didn't have it in my stash, and there was a couple of colors that did not work very well with this particular piece of linen, and I did stitch it 2/2. This, I'm pretty sure this is maybe my second attempt at framing myself. There was, I framed a smaller piece. I might have framed a couple of like really small ones, but this was like the first one that was like a little bit bigger. I used a piece of mat board. I think there is one piece of batting behind here, and then I did lace it. And I remember somebody had asked me, have I tried the pinning method? And I did try it, but I do not like it. I much prefer lacing. And I think that really is what it boils down to, your kind of preference. And I feel like for me, I have better control with lacing. Not that there's anything wrong with pinning, just for me personally, I prefer the lacing method. So I really like having him out this year in December. Next up, we have Merry Christmas by, I think, Little House Needleworks. I stitched this one several years ago, and the reason why I stitched it was because our previous Christmas tree, we had had it for at least 15, 16 years. Is that how long we had it? At least, maybe it was more like 17 years, 17 or, we'd had it for a long time. And prior to that, my grandparents had it. And after my grandfather died, my grandma gave it to me because she, you know, she's like, I'm not gonna put up this big of a tree anymore. And, you know, the kids were really, really little, and she's like, you should take it and enjoy the tree. So we had had it for a really long time. And within the last like 5 years, it really had started to show its age. And one of the first things that happened was that the very top of it broke, and there was no way to fix it. And instead I decided to stitch this and use this to cover the broken branch. And I actually think that the top of the tree was broken for several years before I stitched this, because I want to say, I think I did this within like the last 3 or 4 years. So for like, you know, up until last year when we replaced the tree, this is what for a few years was up at the very top. And it sort of covered that hole because the angel that originally covered it had broke. So anyway, so last year, and then of course this year, this one really doesn't have a place to hang out. And I actually am thinking that maybe I will, because I originally finished this sort of like Priscilla style. So it's got the sticky board. There is batting behind this piece. It has felt covering the back. But this one also feels like it's got a little piece of batting. But I think what I will do is maybe, I have a couple of pieces that I would like to reframe. One of the things that I got for my birthday was this big saw that I will be able to use to make my own frames. And I have 2 previous finishes that both need new frames, and so those are going to be the guinea pigs. And I think this one might be too, because I know that there is enough that I could make a narrow frame and then lace it. And it's also starting to bow a little bit. I don't know if you can see. It's starting to, I don't know, right after I got it done, it just sort of like bowed. And so it would be nice to kind of, you know, get it, to refinish it, maybe put it in a frame. But right now it actually hangs out on the fireplace, just sort of like propped up. Next up is, this is Baby It's Cold Outside by Heartstring Samplery. I stitched this one. There was the stitch along that I can't remember who hosted it, but we stitched this in memory of Leanne from Lost and Floss. So I started working on it then, finished it, and then had it framed by Acorns and Threads last year. And I really like this. I think I stitched it on, it is a 36 count. I don't remember what linen it was called. You might be able to go back into my Instagram. If I have time, I will go back and I'll look. And if I am able to, I will put it down below. But I really like how it turned out. One of the snowflakes, I put an L for Leanne. And I did stitch it with the called for threads 1/2. I really, really love it. Really love it. And I am glad to have it out this year through Christmas, and it will be a piece that stays up until spring. This next piece, which I apologize for the glare, it is behind some glass. So let me tell you about this one. I do remember working on it. I started it around my 40th birthday. And I remember I took it, we went to the beach for the weekend, and I took it with me, and I started working on it there. I think this is called Lantern Lane, and it is by Little House Needleworks. I'm pretty positive. If it's by Country Cottage Needleworks, I'll make sure I correct that in the description box down below. But I do remember working on this one, and I remember the house felt like it was never going to end. And of course now that's all I work on are big giant houses. But at the time I wondered what the heck I was thinking. I stitched it with my own conversion. I don't remember what that was. The only thing I really remember is the brown, the green, and the red floss that I used is the DMC variegation. So if you are down the aisle where they have the DMC floss, whatever the brown was, whatever the red was, and whatever the green was, that's the one that I used. I did make some changes. The first thing is after I got all of this done, I was up here working on this border and I was just so sick and tired of working on this piece. I just wanted to be done with it, that by the time I got all the way over here, I just called it good. And when I went to frame it, I just used a piece of gingham ribbon to cover up that it was missing this upper border here and to kind of help it fit a little bit better in this frame, which I had just picked up from Michael's. They have that one section where they have the inexpensive frames, and that was one of them. This is a piece that when I do start making my own frames, this is one of the guinea pigs. It will get a new frame. I'm hoping to, I kind of took a peek at the back, and luckily I had just kind of wrapped it, and I did glue it. I used Aileen's tacky glue. So I will go through, loosen it up. I know it's on a piece of mat board, or not mat board, but sticky board, so I will be taking it off of that. And then I will relace it and make a custom frame for it. There is a part of me that wished that maybe I would have just set this aside when I got tired of it and completed the bottom down here, but it's okay. I mean, you know, what are you gonna do, right? And I do like how it turned out. I sometimes wish maybe I would have just left this off and just had this. But I do love it. It's funny, whenever I look at it, I do remember what a big pain in the booty it was. But it was a lot of fun. It was my first big piece. And now, you know, I mean, now I'm stitching on, you know, Anne Priest, which is like 3 times the size. So it's kind of funny, you know, when I go to take everything out that I had previously worked on and seeing the progression as I went along, you know, starting with those smaller pieces, and then it just sort of like worked its way up to like a big sampler. And it's kind of fun seeing that growth. And before I forget, I stitched it on a piece of 28 count linen that I tea coffee dyed, and I stitched it 2/2. And I believe that the linen, it came from Michael's. I used to be able to buy, they used to have a selection of linen. They don't anymore, but this was one of the ones that you could get in the tube, and I remember buying it. So, and then my brand new finish that I just fully finished last night is the Colonial Primitive Christmas Sampler by Primitive Stitchin', and I will put a link to her shop down below. This one, I think I showed it finished in my last video. I actually worked on it while I was not feeling well. Out of everything that I ever worked on, I did not make one mistake the whole time I was working on it, even with my head, you know, with all of the sinus congestion and all of that. I didn't make one mistake. But I did really, really enjoy working on this. I decided to stitch it for my 7x great aunt, Rebecca Sims. And she was born around 1720, so I decided to leave the 1726. But this one was a lot of fun to work on. I stitched it on a piece of 32 count natural linen from Hobby Lobby. And I stitched it 1/2 with the called for DMC. The frame was one that I picked up from the Goodwill, and I think it's not like an actual piece of real wood. It looked like it at the time, but when I went to go attach, which I'll show you what the back looks like. So I just, for the time being, there was a piece of cardboard that's kind of warped, but I decided for the time being, I would just go ahead and use the cardboard that had come with the backing. There was like tacks, and I just pulled all the tacks out. And then these things right here are little, I should have brought them, but they look like little arrows. And you put the pointy end in, and then you take a screwdriver and a hammer and you pop them in. And if it's wood, they usually go in no problem. And when it's not real wood, you really struggle to get those points in. But that is what I use to secure the backing. Down the road, what I will do is cut a piece of cardboard or the foam core, or even another piece of mat board, and then I will, I want to get some of the, is it butcher paper, and put the butcher paper on the back of it to sort of make it look like really like a nice professional clean finish. But I sanded it to kind of remove some of the, I mean, it was really badly, it had been around for a while, but it had a lot of dings in it and a lot of nicks and scratches. So I took some sandpaper and I went and kind of removed some of that. I painted it black, and once it dried, I roughed it up a little bit with sandpaper to sort of give it that primitive look. And right now it just hangs out in the other room. And I really love it. It just looks really, really cool. So I'm glad that I have that one finished and I can enjoy it for the season. I probably will leave it out into the winter because it doesn't really scream Christmas. It does have like a colonial style tree in it, but I feel like I could get away with having this as a winter piece. So, but I was really pleased with the finish last night. I did lace it. I used a piece of mat board. There are 3 pieces of batting behind it, and then I laced it, and it was done. So I'm very, very pleased with the finish. I know I probably say that about all of my finishes, but I really like having them framed and out on display. It just makes me so happy, and I feel so very accomplished, you know, having them out and I can enjoy them, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying having this cross stitch hobby. I feel like in the last couple of years I've really found like my niche. I really enjoy kind of where I have found myself and working on the things that I am. It brings me a lot of joy. So I'm really, really happy. I'm just really enjoying working on cross stitch. Okay, so do you remember how in the beginning of my video I said that I seem to have become a very forgetful person? This is what I'm talking about. So this particular piece that I'm going to show you next was right here laying down the whole time. And I had all the other stuff over here, because what happened was I had some of the stuff over here, and then when I went to go start my video, I saw this piece across the room, and I thought, well, I'm going to go grab that one and talk about it too. So I thought I got done showing all of my previous finishes, and I look down and I see it sitting right here, and I think, oh, I'm going to show this one next. So I whip it up, and I could not remember what the name of it was called, and I finished this in October. You're going to laugh. It's this one. So this is called Christmas Rose by Blackbird Designs. I finished this one in October, and it is stitched on a piece of 36 count vintage homespun, which I had to look up because I have my Facebook page right here and I'm looking at it. And I stitched it with the called for threads 1/2. I don't know, maybe there's a vitamin I can take. So I was really glad to have this one finished. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer, but because, you know, I had content to show in my videos, it enabled me to work exclusively on this one until it was finished. So it was one of my first finishes that I had, you know, working monogamously. And I love this piece. It hangs out in this room on the end table. And I stitched this one for my great aunt. Her name, we called her Aunt Irene, but when I was building my family tree, I noticed that her given name was Thelma Irene Parnell. So I stitched it for her. She died several years before I was born. She sort of had a very tragic end. And I actually didn't know anything about her until her youngest sister, my Aunt Joyce, told me the story about Irene. So I thought, I've been trying, as I'm working on these things, if I'm able to do personalization, I've been trying to like pull people off of my family tree and, you know, put them on these pieces, so that way not only will I remember them, but then maybe when my family comes to visit, they'll say, who are these initials? And then I will be able to then be like, well, it's for our great Aunt Irene, and just sort of like living, you know, having her memory live on. I've never seen a picture of her. I don't really know why. My grandpa never really talked about her. He would have, you know, grown up with her. They didn't really have the best childhood. The only one that had a great childhood is their very youngest sister, and she had a different mom because my grandpa and his siblings' mother had passed away when he was 15, I think. Maybe he was a little bit younger. But my great-grandfather was not a nice man, and some of the stories I've heard, it just makes my heart hurt for them. So, and I'm so surprised that they all turned out as well as they did, because honestly, with the way that they were raised after, maybe my grandpa was younger, because my great-grandma must have died when he was just a boy, because he tried to run away several times, and he actually made it all the way to Chicago before the railroad police picked him up and returned him to my great-grandfather, and he was like 10, 12. But it's amazing how well he turned out, as well as all of his siblings, because, you know, with what they had to grow up with, it just was not, it was not good. So anyway, so it's a way for me to remember her every time I bring it out. She was born in December, which kind of was why I decided to do that. But anyway, so I feel really bad that I forgot it was Christmas Rose. You would think that if I stitched it in this year, I would be able to remember the details about it. So everything that I've shown, all my finishes, the works in progress, all of that, I will list all of the correct information down below, what the name of the stitch is, who the designer is. If I can remember what I stitched it on, it'll all be listed there. If I can't, it's just probably because time, you know, especially with Lantern Lane, I only remember the linen because when I looked at it, I remember I tea coffee dyed it. But some of this other stuff, which I realized this one I didn't say, I'm pretty sure this is a piece of 32 count vintage country mocha. And I'm pretty sure I stitched it with DMC. But, you know, as time goes on, I just, you know, some of that stuff just sort of, I don't know, gets pushed to some obscure corner of my brain. But if I can remember, all of the information for everything that I've shown will be listed down below. In my last video, I did have a giveaway, and thank you so much to everybody who entered to win. The giveaway was for this planner by Lori Holt of Be In My Bonnet. The Fat Quarter Shop sent it to me several weeks ago, and I realized that I probably would never use it, and I wanted it to go to a stitcher that would get the most use out of it. So thank you to everybody who entered to win the planner. I read through some of your responses, and again, I have been very I've really not been taking very good care of my channel. So even though the giveaway is technically over, I will make sure to go back and read through all of the comments. I did read through some of them, and I enjoyed reading some of the projects that you are hoping to get done before the end of the year. And so thank you so much for sharing those with me. But the winner of the planner is Holly Paxson. So congratulations. I will do my best to comment on your comment. But if you can send me an email, which will be listed in the description box down below, and send me your address, I will get this out in the mail to you next week. And thank you so much for playing, and congratulations. I do have a giveaway for this video, and it is something that I made several years ago. I remember we did it as a snow day project. It was actually the first snow day project that I did with my good friend Retha, and we've done several projects since then. But this little project, when I made it, because over the last couple of years, I've been changing stuff around. The area where this used to hang during Christmas, I no longer have, I don't have what it used to hang with anymore. I took it all down. And so for the past couple of years, it's just kind of been floating around. And I thought, you know what? I want to find somebody that would really, really love to have it. And that is this little mini tree. So this I refer to it as a mini wall hanging, but I'm finding now that there are a lot of cross stitchers who they have like decorative quilted mats, and they will put their their threads and their scissors and stuff while they're working on their cross stitch, and then they will put these in with their project bags. I just used it as a wall hanging, which it could be a candle mat, it could be a mug rug. It's kind of whatever you'd like it to be. But I really do want to find somebody who will love this. So the Christmas tree was paper pieced by me. It was a lot of fun. I remember sitting there working on it while it was snowing. It was actually in December, and the kids really did have a snow day. And there was actually several snow days. We got a ton of snow, just very unexpected right before Christmas, which was so cool because that so rarely happens here. All of these pieces came from a quilt which is hanging out in, or it's not hanging, it's on a quilt ladder in the other room. But these were leftover pieces from it, as well as these were leftover pieces from several quilts that I had done in the previous years. The backing is just this cute vintage looking Santa. So if you are interested in winning the little mini quilt, I'm gonna make it really easy on you guys this time and just say, use Christmas in a sentence down below in the comment section, and in my next video, I will announce a winner. And as usual, thank you so much for playing, and the usual rules apply. You must be a subscriber, like the video, and of course answer the question down below. As far as all of the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show in this video. I'm going to talk about some quilts next. So if that's not something you're interested in seeing, this of course is a great stopping off point, and thank you so much for stopping by, and I will be back in 2 weeks, which will put us the week before Christmas, I believe. I think I come back, I think my next video is around the 17th, I think is when I have to film it. So yeah, it would be in that week before Christmas, I think. It's coming up quick. I still have to figure out some gifts for my husband. He's super hard to shop for. And I always joke that I'm just going to buy stuff for me and just wrap it up and give it to him. Wouldn't he be so surprised? But anyway, I am going to talk about quilts next. So if you are interested in that, you know, stick around. All right, let's talk about quilts. I have still been working on Jane Austen. Here's what happened. Of course, getting sick sort of derailed a lot of that. And then when I started feeling better, I started working on it again. I guess it was more, I still wasn't feeling the greatest, but I just needed to do something. So when I kind of felt like I could kind of pay attention to what I needed to do, I started working on it again. And then last week, I tried to pick it up and just could not. I just couldn't. Last week was just a really, really hard week. And so Jane sort of got shuffled to the side. And then over the weekend, I went and picked it back up again and started assembling more diamonds. And then not last night, but the night before, I actually finished all of the diamonds. So all of the diamonds are assembled now. And then last night I attached the very first border. And before I show you the quilt, I've had a lot of people who they bought the Jane Austen Quilt kit and they are going to start it. That's part of their New Year's plan. And so last night I decided to go and watch the tutorial to kind of figure out how to attach the border, because it is a pre-printed border. And I thought, you know, how do I do this next step? Well, I actually was a little bit perturbed at the tutorial because I fast forwarded to the spot where they assembled the first 2 rows of diamonds, and I'm like, this is where I left off. And then it went from assembling those 2 rows of diamonds to all of a sudden the quilt center is completely assembled and 3 of the borders are attached. And all they talked about was the top border, which was the last border that they needed to finish. And I was like, what? So as I was starting my Jane Austen journey, several quilters had reached out to me and said that they had friends who had put the Jane Austen quilt together and they had trouble with the borders because the border was not printed. It's not straight. It's actually like a tick off. And you know, when you look at it, it's like, it does look like it's straight. Maybe my piece is okay. But then when I went to go cut it out, I could tell that it actually like goes this way a little bit. So I had to kind of, you know, I had to kind of straighten it out a little bit. But not all of the places where, so like you have the border panel and the piece of white polka dot fabric that's supposed to meet up with this line here. So this line goes all the way here. It's supposed to be like the corner of that sashing. And on my panel, that the sashing, where it meets up, so my sashing fabric is actually much lighter than the pre-printed panel. It's just a smidge darker. And also some of those points, they don't exactly match up perfectly. And so I saw that being discussed there was like a quilting group where some of the quilters in that group were doing the Jane Austen, and I remembered seeing them talk about the fact that it's not going to match up perfectly, and you just need to get it to where it looks, you just basically need to get it where it's good enough. So I put the border on. It took me about an hour of pinning and then unpinning and then repinning, and words were said. Lots of words. But I sewed it. I had to use the seam ripper on part of it, and then I just got it good enough, and I'm okay. So I'm going to show you what it looks like now, and then hopefully in my next video I will have it completely finished and hopefully quilted, because as soon as I get it done, I would like to get some batting for it and then just go ahead and quilt it. And I think this is the right way. And I'm not going to be able to show it in its entirety. I'm only going to be able to show like sections of it. When I get it all done, I'll take it somewhere and I'll photograph it outside. So here is all of so this is the corner. And here it goes all the way across to the right border. So that is what it looks like. This over here will actually, I'm going to leave it on. But after I quilt it, you trim it. There's like some diamond points right here, and you trim it 1/4 inch beyond those diamond points. That way when you're laying your binding, it's laying right up against those points. But this is what it looks like so far. I don't know that I'm going to get to it tonight, and I probably won't work on it tomorrow. So over the weekend, I'm hoping to attach the other 3 borders and get the quilt top finished. There is the middle diamond all joined up. And you might say, well, Olivia, it's not completely centered. On the Jane Austen quilt, it is not either. It is printed exactly like it looks on Jane Austen's quilt. So here it is. And all the way up to the top, or bottom, I guess. So that is what it looks like so far. And it's, when I first started making it, I did the directions exactly like it said in assembling the diamonds. And then because I have worked with, because you take the ruler and you put dots, and that's where, you're supposed to join them up with the needle. And then that's how you keep the rows all straight with each other. It got to the point where I did not use the lines. I just made sure the dots were in the points that they were supposed to be and then join those up. And it worked really good for me. It saved a lot of time as well. But as long as you have the dots in the right spot, you'll be able to join each row together. And once you kind of get into a rhythm, you'll be able to, progress. But it does, to look at it, you would think that is the scariest quilt I've ever seen to put together, but it's actually not that bad. And the border, it's just a little bit of a headache because that was something, that was done during the printing of the panel. And you just, I'm basically just going to fudge it and hope it looks okay. But that was definitely something that I saw discussed, and the 2 quilters that reached out to me said that their friends had struggled with that border as well. So I kind of knew getting to the border that I was going to have a little bit of a headache, and it was, but now that I kind of know what I need to do, I think the next 2, the side border, I know what to do, and then you have to join the top and the bottom. You have to You have to make sure that the diamonds match each other. Like you have to like take the bottom half of the diamond and the top half of the diamond and put them together. That's going to be super fun. All right, so really quickly, I know I think I already talked about the quilt behind me. I had to like redo the first part of the video a couple of times because I did not turn my notifications off on my phone, because Allison is leaving school today to drive home, and I like to be able to see when she leaves. She hasn't left yet, but I didn't want to like turn my phone completely like on do not disturb, and then, you know, if something happens, you know, I'm in the middle of doing my video and they usually take like an hour, hour and a half, and I didn't want to not be reachable. So I had to redo the first part of the video a couple of times, because anytime I would get like any sort of a notification, it's like a text message or Snapchat, because that's how Allison and I communicate, is on Snapchat, because for some reason she can't send a text message or get a phone call where she's at. It like won't work. I'm not really sure why they sit in a bowl. Anyway, I know that's a long explanation. Anyway, so she's on her way home, or she isn't yet, but I didn't want to be like not in, you know, I basically wanted to know when if she did leave. Anyway. So the quilt behind me, I'm pretty positive I already talked about it in the beginning, but I do want to mention it again. So the quilt behind me is called Toll Christmas, and it's by Gina Martin. And I know it's a free pattern, and I believe you can get the free PDF from the Moda Bake Shop. But what I will do is I will go in and I will grab the link for it, and I will list it down below. The fabric that I used is an older Kate Spain line, and this quilt has actually been done for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. I do not remember what the line of fabric was called, but it was a jelly roll that I had purchased, and it was just one jelly roll. The fabric is like teals and greens and red, which go good in this room during Christmas, because as you can see, I've got a Santa tree here, I have the red and white tree here, and then the tree across the room is like very bright white. I mean, it's a Christmas tree, but like the lights are very bright white, and it's, you know, I would say that it's, when I decorate for Christmas, it's sort of like traditional. So if it fits in really well hanging here with everything that I have up. But it's a very easy pattern to follow. It's a very easy quilt to make. It's very beginner friendly. The fabric here is just a Kona white that I picked up from Joann's. I think if I remember right in the pattern, I think you could buy like a jelly roll of your choice, and then at the time they sold a white fabric that was already on a jelly roll, but I just bought yardage and I just cut it into strips. But it was really easy to put together. I think I did it in like a couple of days, and I really liked it. It's quilted with just simple loops, and I really enjoyed working on it. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I'll make sure to put a link to it down below. Next up is this quilt. I did not make this quilt, my grandma did. She also hand embroidered the blocks. It is the 12 Days of Christmas, and she did it in red work. I also made this same exact quilt, except I finished mine a little bit differently, and I gifted it to my sister-in-law. And she actually kept it out all year round. Anytime I would go over there, even if it was in the summer, it was always on the back of the couch. She never put it away with the Christmas decoration. She always had it out, and it always made me really happy to see it there. But this is my grandma's that she gave to me. And it's very well used, very well loved. I have it on the quilt ladder out in the other room, but there's been many a Christmas that it's just been on the back of the couch, and we've just used it. So it is all hand embroidered. And again, it's really hard to get these bigger quilts in the picture. but that is what it looks like. And I know she did it with DMC. I'm guessing it looks kind of like, what is it, 319? Is that nice Christmassy red? But she did use DMC. It's 2 strands of floss, and it's all hand embroidered. And then this one was one that I did several years ago. It was a quilt pattern by Sherry Falls of This and That pattern, and it was out of it might have been her first Christmas book, and I will put the name of the Christmas book down below. But it's all trees, Christmas trees, which are my favorite, as you know. And it's one of my favorite Christmas quilts. And basically it just repeats all the way down. I mean, it looks exactly like this all the way down. And I remember I got this, it wasn't a quilt kit, and I want to say it was Christy from Cross Stitch Quilts. I don't remember how I found out. I think it was a sew along, and there was this Etsy shop where you could buy the fabric. And I don't remember if she had sent me a message because it was Christmas trees, or I don't remember how it came about, but somehow she told me about it, and I went and I bought it because she has a twin of this in her house. I'm pretty sure she still has it. I'll have to ask her. But I remember she was the one who told me about this, and then I bought a quilt kit from the Etsy shop. And I can't remember what I think it was like Stitches and Giggles or something like that. It's been probably a good 5 years, 5 or 6 years since I did that one. But I will make sure to put the name of the book down below. And I think it was her first Christmas book that she put out. Sherry Falls. It was I think it was her first Christmas book that she put out. But that is a that would be a great beginner quilt to do. It's very simple. It's all straight piecing. I think I worked on it before I did this. These two were done about the same time. One was just done before the other one, because there is a third quilt that was done the next year, and I still haven't quilted it yet. It's still out there waiting, and it's been waiting all this time. All right, well, that is all of the quilting that I have to show for this video. Plans for stitching and quilting. So I plan on continuing working on Anne Priest and Mighty Acorn, and I'm hoping to just kind of stick with those two until the end of the year. I do not know if I will be able to finish either one of them by the end of the year, but at some point I will have to start thinking about returning to my rotation, which I am looking forward to getting back to. I haven't worked on Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow since September, so I definitely am looking forward to getting back to that one at some point coming up soon. Quilting wise, I'm going to continue working on Jane Austen until she is done, so I just have those last 3 borders to put on. And then once she is done, I have the quilt that I kitted up that is by Joe Morton called Glad Tidings, and it's out of the Tried and True book, and so I will be cutting that one. If I'm really lucky, I will be able to start cutting on it this weekend, but I'm not sure time-wise what I will have time for, because we do have my sister-in-law's funeral tomorrow. We have family that's in town that I know that we're supposed to meet up with either Saturday or Sunday. So it's going to be a rough weekend. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be really rough. So I definitely know that I will not be working on anything tomorrow, but I'm hoping that over the weekend, if I can at least get my Jane Austen done, that will be great. And then I will have other projects that I will be working on. I have a lot of catching up to do, so I will also be working on that as well. And I've got some Christmas shopping I have to be doing. If you have any great ideas for my husband Brian, will you let me know? because I've asked him and he's like, I don't know. But otherwise, I will just plan to be back in 2 weeks, and I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. And I do appreciate you guys stopping by today and bearing with me all through this year, because I really feel like I should change my Flosstube channel to Gloom and Doom, because every so many weeks I feel like something happens, and I'm really hoping that next year will be a lot easier, but I'm just not sure. Trying to remain hopeful, so we'll see. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks. Thank you so very much for stopping by today, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.